Welcome back, collectors and treasure hunters. In today's video, we're diving into one of the most overlooked but shockingly powerful coins in U.S. history. The top 5 most valuable and most expensive Lincoln Memorial 1 cent. This tiny copper penny, even when it looks old, dirty, and forgotten, holds a direct connection to a turning point in American history. And the right varieties and conditions can turn an ordinary pocket relic into a 4-figure prize. Stay tuned, because in this video we're going to uncover what makes this coin so captivating to serious numismatists, why collectors still chase it after 60 years, and how a coin you might already have sitting in a jar could be far more valuable than you think. Let's get started. First up to in 1963, United States, 1 cent with a D mint mark stands out as a captivating piece that continues to command the attention of seasoned collectors and curious treasure hunters alike. Even in a heavily circulated, dark, dusty, or visibly aged appearance, this coin still pulls enthusiasts because of its position in pre-1964 copper history, its role in everyday American commerce, and its place in the final years before major monetary changes. It is not merely a tiny piece of metal. It is a miniature relic that links hands, history, and heritage across decades, making it a prize target for those who chase nostalgia wrapped in copper. The 1963 Lincoln Memorial cent was struck at the Denver Mint during an era of rising national transitions between the tail end of the Eisenhower administration and the emergence of the Kennedy era. These cents represent spending power during the early Cold War economy, when copper still dominated cent production. Though not a commemorative issue, this date captures a pivotal turning point right before the removal of silver from coinage and before the assassinations and political shifts that would redefine America. To hold a 1963 D penny is to hold a witness to the United States as it stood on the edge of irreversible change. On the obverse, the immortal bust of Abraham Lincoln stands firm, representing unity and national strength. In contrast, the reverse proudly presents the Lincoln Memorial, a secondary tribute to the same president, creating the rare phenomenon of a U.S. coin honoring the same figure on both sides in concept and ideology. This dual memorial effect has given the series an iconic presence in American coinage. Struck in bronze composition, 95% copper, these cents have weight, color, and tone that modern zinc cents lack, making them far more appealing to purists, especially when found with the D mint mark from the Denver strike. The 1963 D that is dusty, tarnished, gritty, or deeply aged projects a powerful sense of journey. To collectors, such wear is not merely damage. It is a biography in metal form. Each scrape, each layer of dirt, and each tone of oxidation suggests pockets, cash registers, migrations, trades, and hands across generations. This lived appearance does not bring premium value on its own, but it delivers emotional weight and authenticity that some collectors intentionally prefer over sterile, uncirculated coins. In regular worn condition, this coin is common, but certain varieties and conditions elevate it sharply. Double die obverse strikes, strong repunched mint mark varieties, off-center strikes, clip planchets, and sharply preserved full red, uncirculated survivors break free from the ordinary. The challenge lies not in finding a 1963 D cent, but in finding one that aligns with rarity of condition or variety. And that scarcity is what ignites serious bidding. Collectors chase certified examples graded MS 65 to MS 67 red by top grading services, since such coins represent perfection from mass production era. Meanwhile, dramatic errors can command attention even in non-mint state condition. A spectacular off-center 1963 D or a strong repunched D can draw competitive offers. The coin's age adds weight, but its rarity lies in select survivors and anomalies, not the millions of common pieces. A standard very dirty circulated 1963 D cent typically holds sentimental rather than high monetary value. However, rare varieties or high-grade red survivors can range anywhere between $1,000 and $8,000 plus, depending on eye appeal, certification, and auction competition. Coins with dramatic mint errors or extremely preserved brilliance elevate into the high-stakes market, drawing sharp attention from registry builders and elite collectors who compete fiercely for elite copper. Those seeking serious gains must inspect mint-mark punch quality, look for spread on lettering for double die traits, and study rim structure for alignment issues. Buying raw coins blindly is risky. Securing graded pieces or purchasing only from reputable dealers or established auctions is recommended for safety. Storing coins in climate-controlled holders and avoiding fingerprints or friction preserves long-term potential and ensures a coin's survival against time. The 1963 D-cent continues to captivate modern-day hobbyists is the psychology of discovery. Even though most examples are common, the idea that a rare double die or high-grade survivor could still be hiding in an old jar, drawer, attic, or inherited box triggers an irresistible chase instinct. The thrill is not just in possession. It is in the moment of detection. People crave the story that this coin was sitting forgotten for 60 years and is now worth thousands. That narrative fuel keeps collectors emotionally invested and keeps this date circulating in conversations, videos, and auction rooms. Within the entire Lincoln Cent series, both Wheat and Memorial, the 1963 D serves as a structural cornerstone year. It precedes the final Wheat to Memorial transition era and belongs to the final window of 95% copper production before debasement and design changes. For set builders, no complete folder or registry feels psychologically complete without a solid 1963 D example, especially in peak grade. That compulsory requirement alone maintains baseline demand and ensures this coin will never fade into irrelevance, even a century after mintage. Unlike hype-based modern novelty issues that spike and fall, the value pattern of strong vintage cents, especially those with condition or variety power, moves gradually upward over long time horizons. Copper-based classics hold intrinsic collector loyalty, meaning their prices are not easily destroyed by fads. As more circulation-age cents are melted, lost, damaged, or destroyed over future decades, the surviving pool of premium 1963 D pieces shrinks silently, increasing scarcity without fanfare. That quiet attrition is one of the strongest predictors of long-term price strength. The 1963 D Lincoln Cent functions as a gateway lesson coin. It teaches beginners everything that matters in numismatics. Eye appeal versus grade, variety versus normal strike, versus preservation, common versus exceptional, sentimental worth versus market worth. It trains the eye, builds discipline, and forces the mind to separate emotion from evaluation. That educational value is itself a form of economic value, because coins that teach generations of collectors sustain permanent relevance in the hobby ecosystem, ensuring a demand cycle that does not collapse with time. The 1963 D Lincoln Cent holds a special psychological weight because it represents authentic pre-modern money. Copper you can feel, history you can see, and a denomination that once had spending strength. Whether dirty and battle-scarred or dazzlingly uncirculated, it transmits era, story, and nationhood in a single inch of metal. Few objects as small maintain such capacity to evoke decades so vividly. The 1963 D Lincoln Memorial Cent stands as more than just change. It is a preserved slice of American life, a stable favorite of collectors, and a reliable long-term anchor for heritage-driven portfolios. Its blend of historical relevance, design symbolism, copper integrity, and rare high-value varieties make it a cherished acquisition for those who understand the power of old coinage. Whether held as a sentimental relic, a study piece, or a high-grade investment, it remains a compelling and enduring treasure in the active coin market. Next up to in 1964, D. Abraham Lincoln Memorial 1 cent stands out as a captivating and aggressively pursued treasure, especially when encountered in extremely old, dirty, and raw as found form that speaks of deep age and untouched authenticity. This small copper coin, struck in the Denver Mint and bearing the iconic D, mint mark, has transformed from a common circulating piece into a high-demand historical collectible that electrifies collectors who chase coins with narrative and patina. Its compelling combination of historical weight, familiar patriotic artwork, symbolic relevance, and emerging market appreciation locks this humble penny in place as a prized pursuit within modern coin collecting. The 1964 issue emerging during the final years before the U.S. removed silver from circulation coinage, a moment of decisive turning in American monetary history. Struck in Denver at a time of intense coinage demand, this cent circulated through a period marked by Cold War tensions, space race milestones, and monumental civil rights developments. It carries the legacy of Abraham Lincoln, the president tied to Union survival and emancipation, making each specimen a tangible metallic witness to American transformation. Its presence extends beyond monetary function and operates as a historical anchor to a nation pivoting between old values and new realities. The obverse bears the stoic bust of Abraham Lincoln, sculpted with classical realism, flanked by the word liberty and the date 1964 with a bold D mint mark signaling Denver origin. The reverse displays the Lincoln Memorial, a structure both architectural and ideological, with E pluribus unum crowning the inscription and 1 cent boldly expressing its denomination. Composed of copper, weighing 3.11 grams and measuring 19.05 millimeters, it boasts a material that ages with exquisite character, darkening, toning, and acquiring chain-like patination and neglected storage that collectors today respect as story-sealed authenticity rather than mere wear. While millions were minted, true scarcity begins not in quantity, but in survival condition and specialty attributes. Well-preserved, sharply struck, double die, or early die-state examples are exceedingly difficult to secure. The majority of finds are heavily worn, but it is the combination of originality, untouched filth-layered patina, or uncirculated brilliance that stratifies rarity. Uncleaned raw coins found in boxes, garages, or inherited lots retain a powerful numismatic purity. Collectors chase exactly that untouched, unaltered condition that allows grading bodies and advanced buyer networks to evaluate origin and legitimacy without added suspicion. In the modern trading climate, a high-grade or certified XF MS specimen, particularly those with strong strikes, uncirculated surfaces, attractive color, or recognized die varieties, can command a realistic market range from $1,000 to $8,000 depending on individuality. Coins exhibiting recognized double die characteristics, exceptional copper color stability, or documented provenance may exceed even those metrics. The continued rise in copper-era cent collecting, combined with nostalgia-driven acquisition and limited supply of top-end pieces, has produced steady upward pricing pressure on eligible specimens. Collectors are not chasing this coin merely as metal. They're chasing narrative, preservation, and connection. The Lincoln Cent series is one of the most thoroughly collected in American hobby history, and coins like the 1964 serve as nodal anchors within full-year sets, registry submissions, and legacy builds. High-grade survivors of an otherwise common year create intense bidding friction because they offer something the market cannot easily reproduce: originality plus time. That time capsule dimension is the fuel behind the coin's rising desirability. The smartest collectors hunt certified slabs from PCGS/NGC, evaluate luster before color, and prioritize full strikes, especially around Lincoln's hair and the memorial lines. They attack auction archives, join numismatic communities, and compare auction hammer histories before making decisions. Raw unsearched lots must be handled only with gloves and stored in acid-free holders. Avoid cleaning. Artificial shine destroys premium. Buy from reputable platforms and established consignors to reduce risk and secure provenance that appeals to later buyers. Coins like this do not collapse in relevance because they are embedded in American identity and collector psychology, not fashion or speculation. Every decade that passes thins surviving quality, boosts rarity, and moves the narrative from old coin to historical remnant. That evolutionary tightening of supply attached to a universally recognized U.S. president creates a self-reinforcing value arc, a chain of history, demand, scarcity, and sentiment wrapped into a single copper. The 1964 D. Lincoln cent is instantly recognizable to non-collectors while maintaining deep layers of advanced numismatic interest. That crossover identity, everyone knows the coin, but few own the right specimen, is the psychological advantage that fuels auction aggression and private negotiation premiums. It is simultaneously familiar and unattainable in premium form, a perfect mix for sustained desirability. The 1964 D. Lincoln Memorial 1 cent functions as an asset rooted in historically anchored demand. Its buyer base is multi-layered. Entry collectors build sets, intermediate collectors upgrade, and advanced collectors chase only top-end or variety-driven examples, meaning there's always a ladder of downstream demand ready to absorb premium pieces. That multiple-tier demand structure is what makes this coin a defensible long-horizon store of numismatic capital, not a fad. As premiums accumulate around certified, problem-free, or die variety specimens, the probability of long-term value erosion declines, making it a strategically stable holding for numismatists with investment discipline. Collectors repeatedly describe premium Lincoln cents as identity tokens, not just artifacts, pieces that allow them to physically own continuity with American economic and political lineage. Holding a 1964 D in raw, untouched state or slabbed in pristine form is like holding a compressed biography of a country mid-transition. That emotional payload converts the coin from a numismatic object into a personalized relic of national memory. This ownership psychology is exactly what amplifies private sale prices and fuels competitive bidding. Buyers are not just acquiring copper, but access to a narrative they want to belong to. The surrounding years of Lincoln cents are abundant, but the 1964 D occupies a strategic hinge point, the last pre-transition era before structural coinage changes, the last wave of high-demand traditional cent production, and the final period before increasing collector intervention altered survival patterns. This places the 1964 D in a class of pre-modern but post-classical U.S. cents, modern enough for recognition, old enough for scarcity momentum, and historically central enough for narrative prestige. When a coin lives in that tri-zone, recognizable, fitting in top form, and story-anchored, its trajectory is rarely sideways. It remains a compact, durable, steadily appreciating emblem of American monetary heritage that collectors continue to compete for with seriousness and pride. The 1964 D. Abraham Lincoln Memorial 1 cent stands not merely as a cent, but as a condensed relic of American movement, copper-etched heritage, and investment-grade collectability. With its Denver origin, iconic design, survival rarity, and increasingly verified market strength, it occupies a powerful seat in the hobby, a miniature yet commanding artifact that binds history, demand, artistry, and upward value momentum. For any collector building a portfolio with meaning, prestige, and proven market traction, this coin remains a rewarding, defensible, and deeply satisfying acquisition. Next up in the 1972 D. Lincoln Memorial 1 cent, with the clear D mint mark, remains a coin that numismatists still chase with passion. Even when found in extremely dirty, time-worn, pocket-scar condition, this piece holds a gravity that keeps enthusiasts alert, because rare varieties and strong historical attachment push it further into the list of most desirable bicentennial-era relics. It is admired as a miniature piece of financial and cultural heritage, and collectors continue to compete for superior examples, especially those with powerful eye appeal or unique. The 1972 D cent belongs to the intense Cold War and post-bicentennial decade atmosphere, when Americans were re-examining the nation's legacy. Minted in Denver at a moment when rising commodity talks and economic uncertainty were changing U.S. coinage policies, this penny is a token that bridges the Lincoln cent tradition with a generation still reflecting on America's 200th anniversary of independence. Its mass production anchored it inside everyday commerce, giving modern collectors a tactile artifact of post-bicentennial American life. The obverse features the steady and dignified image of Abraham Lincoln, sculpted by Victor David Brenner, radiating authority even when the coin is heavily dirt-stained or circulation damaged. On the reverse appears the imposing Lincoln Memorial designed by Frank Gasparo, so detailed that even the tiny seated statue inside the memorial is visible in higher grades. Struck on copper alloy, 95% copper, 5% zinc and tin, with a diameter of 19.05 millimeters and weighing 3.11 grams. This cent carries the D mint mark below the date, a small letter that adds an entire layer of mint identity and collector distinction. While billions were minted, rarity emerges not from the base type, but from state of preservation and special varieties, particularly double die features and needle-sharp strikes. Finding examples in extra fine, XF, EU, or uncirculated MS, with strong luster and no corrosion is exceptionally difficult because most pieces were used and abused in circulation. Coins that survived without scratches, verdigris, or rim dings are intensely fought over in auctions. Morning after morning, collectors still search boxes, hoping a perfect survivor will surface. That chase alone fuels demand. Ordinary circulated pieces hold sentimental value, but top-end certified coins, especially those with dramatic double-die obverse features, can soar. In the current active market, depending on grade, variety strength, and eye appeal, serious examples can realistically trade between $1,000 and $8,000. Exceptional auction offerings with powerful visual doubling or extremely preserved early strikes often command premium results because investors and advanced collectors are not hesitant to pay aggressively for the right coin. The blend of history, American iconography, artistic integrity, and scarce preserved survivors makes the 1972 D cent an irresistible target. It is not just a sliver of metal. It is a relic that watched an entire generation of financial, cultural, and political transformation unfold in the United States. Unlike modern coins printed in supermachine perfection, this cent carries an era's fingerprint, making it more than currency, making it narrative. Interestingly, even coins that appear grimy, stained, or deeply circulated can cause excitement if they mask a hidden error or doubling under the dirt. Collectors often rescue ugly cents from junk boxes only to discover premium attributes under magnification. The possibility that an untidy pocket coin could carry a $1,000 feature is part of what keeps searchers fueled and markets liquid. See coins with clear doubling on the date and lettering, strong rims, and balanced strike pressure. Always prioritize certified pieces from PCGS or NGC when buying high-ticket examples. Store coins in acid-free holders. Never touch surfaces with bare fingers, and avoid cleaning, as cleaning destroys market value immediately. Join numismatic forums, review auction archives, and build knowledge before money leave your hand. The Lincoln Cent series has never lost its cultural grip, and the market for dramatic varieties and high preservation has only climbed. In today's trend-based, hype-sensitive marketplace, coins that combine history plus variety plus condition consistently outperform common collectibles. The 1972 D, with serious visual traits, stands in that class. Time continues to favor it. What makes this coin even more electrifying a hobby is the silent competition happening behind the scenes. Longtime collectors, investment buyers, and new entrants are all hunting from the same supply. And once a major variety becomes public or gets certified, it permanently exits the casual market. Every time a 1972 D error cent is encapsulated and placed into a premium level collection, the pool of raw candidates shrinks a little more, creating invisible tension that slowly but steadily increases the value of those still in private hands. That slow siphoning of high-grade survivors has been one of the powerful engines behind the coin's long-term growth curve. Certification has reshaped the trajectory of this coin dramatically. A standard circulated coin without a paper trail is worth little more than face value. But the moment a reputable grading service confirms a double-die obverse or a pristine uncirculated strike, that same coin can leap instantly into four-figure territory. Provenance, such as being ex-heritage, ex-stacks, or an ex-estate collection, further magnifies desirability because it gives buyers confidence and prestige. In numismatics, legitimacy is value, and nothing creates legitimacy faster than plastic, paperwork, and pedigree. One of the reasons even non-collectors are drawn to the Lincoln series, and especially coins like the 1972D, is the emotional weight attached to Abraham Lincoln as a symbol. His likeness on the obverse is not just decorative. It acts as a capsule of American moral and historical narrative. People do not simply buy these coins. They assign them the role of guardians of a legacy. That emotional charge is not quantifiable, but is the unseen psychological fuel that keeps prices and interest alive, decade after decade, across generations. Some coins enjoy a temporary hype cycle, and then vanish from spotlight once attention shifts elsewhere. The 1972 D. Lincoln cent resists that fate because it rests on four pillars that do not decay with time: historical anchoring, iconic portraiture, robust collector base, and persistent scarcity in top condition. Errors and high-grade survivors will only become rarer as time erodes remaining raw supplies. Educational YouTube channels, auction broadcasts, and grading census reports continue to reintroduce this coin to new waves of collectors. That renewal of attention is why this cent has longevity, and why its market narrative is far from finished. The 1972 D. Lincoln Memorial 1 cent, with its Denver lineage, remains a prized treasure of modern numismatics, a meaningful relic that fuses American identity with collectible scarcity. It charms historians, excites investors, and rewards hunters who look closely. Whether found pristine or buried under decades of grime, its capacity to captivate and to appreciate continues to define it as a centerpiece coin that no serious collector ignores. Next up in the 1973 United States Lincoln Memorial 1 cent, with its definitive D mint mark, remains a captivating and highly coveted piece in the world of American numismatics, especially when discussed under the theme of bicentennial-era fascination that still grips collectors today. Although not minted in the official U.S. bicentennial year, it belongs to the broader pre-bicentennial chapter of American coinage that collectors chase for portfolio completion and historical chaining. This coin, in dirty, old, most handled, heavily chained condition, still commands attention whenever discovered in drawers, basements, or inherited jars because it echoes both age and circulating legacy. It continues to captivate enthusiasts due to its dual power: nostalgia plus conditional scarcity when found with varieties like double die or die cracks. Struck at the Denver Mint in 1973, this cent emerged in an era of post-Vietnam U.S. recovery, economic realignment, and rising public engagement with patriotic symbols ahead of America's 200-year commemoration. The Lincoln series itself had already become a cultural pillar. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birth anniversary of Abraham Lincoln, and by 1973 still anchoring U.S. copper-based currency with enormous symbolic continuity. Though not commemorative in the legal sense, the 1973 D implicitly belongs to the pre-celebratory run, feeding the public sentiment that later exploded during the 1976 bicentennial cycle. Owning one is therefore like holding a tangible pre-signal of national remembrance. The obverse features Victor David Brenner's immortal profile of President Abraham Lincoln, first placed on coinage under Theodore Roosevelt's American Renaissance of Coinage campaign. The reverse carries the sharp linear architecture of the Lincoln Memorial, with the tiny seated statue of Lincoln visible between the columns under magnification, a detail still cited as one of the most poetic small-scale sculptures in world coinage. The 1973 D was struck in 95% copper and 5% tin/zinc, weighing 3.11 grams, the classic pre-1982 copper format that collectors aggressively preserve. The D-mint mark below the date is an anchor attribute for Denver output enthusiasts. Billions were made for circulation, meaning common circulated cents are plentiful. But what shifts the market from trivial to powerful are dramatic die varieties such as double die obverse, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, retained cud breaks, and clipped planchets. The moment such a rarity appears in top grade, say MS 64 to MS 66 RD certified by PCGS or NGC, the economic conversation changes sharply. The contrast between everyday worn examples and sharply preserved or error-bearing coins is precisely what fuels collector pursuit and price escalation. Collectors often treat extremely dirty, grimy, old pocket war 1973 D-cents not for grade, but for storytelling. Coins with chained utility histories that have clearly witnessed decades of hands, cash drawers, rail counters, and pocket migrations. These survivor tone, or old chained, where pieces create an emotional gravity. They mirror the realism of circulation versus museum perfection. Some buyers build narrative-driven sets of worn pre-bicentennial cents specifically for their raw, unbleached authenticity. In normal circulated, dirty, or heavily chained condition, a 1973 D rarely exceeds face value. The market awakens once you move in a high-grade or rare variety territory. Certified MS 65 RD pieces can approach several $100s, and rare double die or strong variety examples in MS 64 to MS 66 RD may push toward the $1,000 to $8,000 bracket when I appeal, low population census, and demand collide at auction. Market appreciation has been steady in both copper-centric and variety-centric fields, the two strongest submarkets for cents. The 1973 D links the past narrative chain between classic copper Lincoln design and the forthcoming bicentennial enthusiasm wave, giving it contextual magnetism. It is a coin that checks all disciplines of collecting: design lineage, cultural attraction, material composition, variety potential, and registry competition. For some, it represents a missing structural brick in multi-date, multi-mint Lincoln runs. For others, it represents the sleeping copper class, predicted by many copper specialists to appreciate over long horizons. Collectors are consistently advised to hunt graded examples or have candidates certified when surfaces are clearly uncirculated or show rare mechanical anomalies. Purchase from reputable auction houses, certified dealers, or long-standing online marketplaces with return protections. For storage, apply strict copper protocols. Inert capsules, climate-stable environments, no bare-hand interaction, and zero PVC plastics. Engage with variety forums, auction archives, and population reports to calibrate what is truly scarce. While front-page fame is often taken by key date cents or major commemoratives, the pre-bicentennial copper field continues absorbing new collectors each year. This demographic inflow stabilizes demand for premium 1973 D pieces. Copper as a narrative metal, as opposed to bullion silver/gold speculation, tends to age with steady upward logic, fewer perfect survivors, higher grading competition, and broader registry battles. Patience with high-grade or high-variety 1973 D holdings has historically rewarded those who don't flip prematurely. The 1973 D Lincoln cent carries a cultural charge that cannot be quantified by population charts alone. It comes from an age when coinage still circulated with symbolic dignity, when copper coins had a heavier, more resonant ring and tactile presence, and when physical money acted not just as currency, but as a shared national token. Every 1973 D still circulating or discovered today carries traces of the lives it passed through. Grocers, bus conductors, soldiers returning home, factory line workers, students buying their first candy, turning the coin into a preserved loop of human participation rather than a sterile metal disc in isolation. The pursuit of a 1973 D, in either raw relic condition or supreme mint brilliance with elite variety status, will not become obsolete as modern cashless systems grow. In fact, this digital shift ironically makes physical heritage coins more romantic, more finite, and more investment defensible. The very disappearance of routine circulation coins from daily life pushes serious collectors and investors back into copper history as a hedge against cultural amnesia. The 1973 D thus remains not only a numismatic target, but also a continuity anchor. A reminder that the physical history of nations is preserved not in screens, but in surviving metal with stories forged into their wear, strike, and survival. The 1973 D. Lincoln Memorial 1 cent stands as a prized treasure on the backbone of American monetary continuity, an object that merges history, artistry, scarcity, cultural memory, and collecting ambition. Whether held in the raw, dirty, relic-like chained form or elevated to slab perfection with a rare double-die pedigree, it remains a tangible connection to the pre-bicentennial American story. For collectors seeking not just metal but meaning, this coin continues to deliver both narrative depth and economic rationale, earning its place in serious numismatic pursuit.